Someone that I follow here on YouTube and over on TikTok took the political compass test. Here's mine, since I know you're all just dying to see it. After getting my results, though, I can't help but feel like I'm being misrepresented. On the surface, it feels right. On one hand, the Republican Party has never properly represented me, but online lolberts hate my guts because I believe things like church attendance are incredibly important and that there should be some basic health and safety regulations in place for businesses. I know, such a big thing to argue over. God forbid a company shouldn't be allowed to sell me a practically poisonous donut. There's another issue though, one that physically cannot be communicated by this stupid graph alone. This way of projecting my political stance is just, well, it's incredibly stupid. I mean, look at it. First off, how the hell did someone look at this and think to themselves, ah, yes, this is a compass, as if they've ever seen a compass their entire life? Secondly, why is my spot on the compass a point? Lastly, this gives no information as to who or what I'm voting for in the next election cycle. Just an ideal endpoint for civilized society. If I didn't know any better, I'd say this is a map, not a compass. So why isn't the political compass a map? I mean, if you think about it, like why? Why is it not called a map? It shows where you want society to be, and we have a general idea on where society is now. Isn't that how you use a map? Am I wrong? You use a map to figure out where you are, where you want to be, and then plot a direction. The compass is the actual thing that guides you on where you want to go relative to your environment. So, who the hell are we kidding about this damn thing? It's a political map. Okay, so it's clear this map needs a redesign, but where do we start? We already acknowledged some of the flaws to this original political compass, but does this design do anything right? First off, we're keeping the orientation up and down, our true north, so to speak. Will be complete government control over everything, including day-to-day life. South would therefore be in the direction of no government whatsoever. Simple. What about the west and what about west and east, left or right? I've thought about this long and hard, pun, and I kid you not, it hit me like a dumpster truck going Mach 2 the minute I typed west and east on my keyboard. Western society is culturally secular. Just compare us to places like Afghanistan or India or Iraq or Thailand. Although I'll admit I don't know that much about Thailand outside of what I've seen on TV. I also like this because it means we should be able to use this compass in any country without having to modify it for that country's political landscape. Hell, the term secular itself is a Western Christian attempt to divide the jobs of man between the religious ambition towards the future and the work that needs to be done of this generation, or the current culture. Correct me if I'm wrong. Ergo, we can create a simple spectrum that almost goes something like this. At the rightmost section, you have people who are religious and traditional. If you're leaning right, you're religious and non-traditional, or you're traditional but non-religious. If you're center, you are non-religious and non-traditional. If you're then left, you're inherently anti-religious or anti-traditional, and if you're on the farthest most left part of the spectrum, you are both anti-religious and anti-traditional. So therefore, I think we're keeping the two axes with just a slight redefining of one of them. The next up, what are we fixing? Well, let's axe these corners a bit. Now it's a circle. Wow, it's almost like we want to convey a direction we want to take the country. It's almost like we're making a compass. Go figure. The last thing we gotta do is figure out how we are going to design our direction for this political compass. I think this will be more clear if I draw up some examples. Let's take this guy. This is Steve. Steve isn't particularly religious, nor anti-religious. He likes the balance of tradition and change right where it is. He has no problems with current laws in place. However, he wants the police to be able to use lethal force to enforce said laws, and believes that the government should be able to spy on you and enforce those current laws. After all, if you aren't doing anything wrong, you won't have anything to hide. Steve, you little bat, you're here. You're our true north. What a beautiful bootlicking son of a... Here is Steve's lovely brother Jamal. Same mother, different father, because mom's a he isn't a big fan of religion and is very vocal about the scandals of different religious organizations. However, he doesn't believe that there's anyone good enough to have authority regarding what religions should and shouldn't be around. He's also just anti-government in general. As he is equally anti-governmental as he is anti-tradition, he would be Southwest. Now, here's the third brother, Bob. Yes, 3 diverse baby daddies worship her feet for her anti-race. He considers himself an American conservative, a classical liberal if you would. Fairly religious, but believes that everything is ultimately in the hands of the divine. In his ideal scenario, he'd love to drain the swamp and return back to the way things were in the early 2000s or the 90s or the 80s. However, he believes that in order to be freer, one must first get discipline from a strong, manly man. He believes that we need stricter, God-driven laws so that the swamp isn't just drained, it is tamed by a strong president. So instead of beelining it southeast or lib-right, he votes for Ron DeSantis and every other Republican candidate, promising himself that he'll vote for libertarians this next election cycle, even though we all know he won't. I'll let you decide whether that makes him authoritarian or not. Personally, I think it makes him this. So that now just leads to, where do I sit? And this is really a section of how does one find themselves on this new compass. And this is the cool part. All of the information you need can be found by taking the original political compass test that you can find in the description of this video. After taking the test and finding out where you sit, ask yourself 2 questions. 1. Does the government need to enforce this position ASAP? 2. Do the people I vote for generally align with my beliefs? In other words, are you or are you not a single issue voter? For example, if you answered no to that second question, but find yourself in some extreme position on the OG political compass test, I strongly urge you to reconsider whether that extreme position is anything other than an ideal long-term post-your-lifetime goal. This would correct for the left-right axis. By omission, then, the first question should correlate to the off-lib axis. Of course, answer those questions honestly, just like you would the political map test. After going through all of this, I'm confident that I'm a diet Bob Light if you would. I have my heart pretty set on DeSantis for presidency, but I'm likely going to vote libertarian everywhere else unless a Republican candidate really, and I mean really, wins me over. There's also a lot of local politics that further muddy that water, but overall I think I would be here. If you have any further questions, I would strongly recommend you leave them in the comment section. I'm looking forward to any and all feedback. If you want to see the video that I was talking about from the person who I follow here on YouTube and on TikTok, a link to his thing will be down below. I'm just looking forward to any and everything. And yeah, dude, I'd like to see this take off and do something. So tell me what you guys think.